Okay guys, this is a video that's been long coming, and I've decided to push it forwards because what it was is I was thinking of building myself one of these, like finding out a way of building myself one of these, like, you know, little stoves that runs off methylated spirit. But I thought, well, what if I'm in a situation where I can't get access to a workshop and can't get access to the right size cans, which you need to do. You need to go to a supermarket to get the right size cans to make some of this stuff. How can I do it? And I thought, well, you know, some people really are in a disaster zone, and it could be a war, it could be famine, whatever, and they need to boil water. You know, and they've got very limited resources. You know, making some of this stuff, you need a workshop. You know, some of this stuff, the commercial sort of stoves, you know, that you can get, probably don't work, probably don't have any gas in them. You don't just have methylated spirit, you need to try different fuels. So in this video, I've done a bit of research on all the different methods that you could potentially use if you've got very limited access. So, the first thing I did a bit of research, and I made this thing here. Now, it's a homemade stove, like these. You know, you've got things like penny stove, buddy burner, meaty feast, super stove, super cat tin. These are okay, but you need tools. Buddy burners are okay, but you need to melt wax. You probably can't melt wax in a war zone. You can do with a candle, but you know, you need some. You know, you've got tools you haven't got. Some of these holes, I mean, I made a pig's ear of that one, but you've got to drill holes in holes. You need a hole punch, you know, and all you need is and all you've probably got is something like this. This is the only tool you've got, or you've got one of these, probably got it made, you know. So I'll show you. I put a link to a YouTuber who made this just using a knife and a pair of scissors, and now I'm going to show you how to make it. Right guys, apart from drinking a Red Bull, let's show you how this works. What you're going to need on the Coke can, we're going to use a pair of scissors, and on the Pepsi Max we're going to use the knife. What you will need is something like a brick to rest a can up against. So first things first, remove the ring pull. That's with both the knife and the scissor method. Okay, now next we need to remove the centre. Now the scissor method will be pretty easy. Stick your scissors in and just work your way around and cut the top off. Doesn't have to be totally accurate. Just as long. Okay. Once you've done that, these sharp edges, you just kind of want to push them in. I mean, you're in your disaster zone, so you want to be careful you don't cut yourself. And basically roll the metal in. Just be careful how you do it. Roll the metal in. Okay, like so. Just straighten the cam out a bit. Boom. Now with the knife method, you don't want to be doing this in the air, because if your knife slips, it's going to hurt you and you're going to have an infection. Last thing you want in a war zone. The best thing to do is to hold it on the ground and cut that way. Okay? The best way to cut it out, so if the knife slips, it goes down. Okay? So carefully work your way around. Once that's done, roll the edge down so it's nice and neat. Like so. Okay. Once you've done that, you're going to need to put a little vent just in the top there. With the scissor method, upside down, open the scissors, just there, holding it down. Hold one of the blades, put it down, And that's all you need, nothing more. Same with the knife. Hold it down so your hand's out of the way, it's not going to hurt you. And then just close to the rim, one little cut. That's all you're going to need. Okay, that's going to provide ventilation. Now, with the scissor method, this is where you're going to need a block. What you're going to want to do is you want to find the centre mark between this edge here and that edge there. Okay, so best to basically put your thumb on the blade there like that, make a nick, come from there, make a nick. What we know is that the centre is just about there. Okay, now what I found was to hold the scissors like that. So if I move the camera into a bit more view, putting on the ground, on the mark, and then just rotate the cam like so. So get your mark going all the way around, and do it for the outer as well. Make a nice mark going all the way around cam. Okay, then carefully, hand out the way, stab in the centre and cut the can in half. Okay, like so. Now that edge line there, you want to neaten it up. So what you want to do when you cut, you want to have the edge line running along that blade there. So you have to do something counterintuitive. Put the scissors in your left hand, and then that allows you to cut a smooth edge just around along the line that you scribed. Ideally that brick would be fixed. Okay, so maybe a wall or something. Okay, as nice and neat as possible. Just try and neaten it up if you can. This thing is kind of done on the run really. Like so. Okay, then we want to measure it up because we want that would be at the top, and we want the top edge there, that line that we've lined. So we do the exact same thing. Scissors in the left hand and cut along that line as best we can. Best we can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but at least it's the best we can do. Right, so that's the scissor method. Knife method, same thing. We want to try and find the centre. So that's from there. And there. So the centre is about there. So the same thing we do. This time we're going to go from the centre. And what I'm going to do is to make this easier, I'm going to put my foot on the brick, holding the knife down. And just rotate the cam as best I can. And now I've got the score mark. I'm going to carefully just put up a bit more of a blade, actually, on the knife. Ideally, you want a sharp knife for this. Just carefully take your time, cut your way around the tin, because it's going to be a lot harder with a knife to do this. So score mark is like a guide. Just carefully cut your way around, but keeping your hands out of the way, because you don't want to get a cut. Not in this game. Okay. There we go. So around about the same height, that's good. Straighten it all out. Best you can. Right, now, This is the second bit. I'll put those bits of the knife. With the scissors, this is the bottom. That's going to be the bottom of your thing. This is going to be the top. So what you want to do is you just want to make a little crease in the side there. Best way to do it is get a pair of scissors. And where this little hole is, just to the side of it, make a little crease. Okay? So you've made a little crease just to the side of the hole. And then, just like on a clock, you're going to do 12 of these creases. So you just come straight across to there, make another crease. Okay? So now you've got 2 creases. And then we're going to do 4 creases. So now we've done half, we do quarters. 4 creases. Normally you would use marker pens if you're doing this in a workshop, but you know, in a war zone you don't have that. Now what we're going to do is do two creases in between each crease. Okay, so now we have 2 creases. Right, let's do that again. Yeah, there's second crease. Whoops. So that's 2. Oh, that's 3 creases actually. And then you go around 2 creases. If you make any extra creases, it doesn't really matter. You've got some creases. Go around like that. A few more creases. So just on the back edge of the knife, you just make these creases. If you overcook it with the creases, it doesn't really matter, as long as you've got some creases. Okay. Same with the knife. On this one, use the back edge and repeat the exact same process with the knife. And I think that will do. Okay, lots of little creases. Good. Right. Now, next, along each crease, what we want to do is we want to make a little indent. Okay. Because we're not doing any jets. Normally with these things they do little holes and little jets, but we don't have a pin. We'll make a little indent along each crease. So come across a crease, make a little indent. That's all it takes. A small indent along each crease. Just go around, make a small indent like so. Each individual crease, so along the crease, make a little indent. And that is going to act double up as your jet. Okay, and once we've done that, we fit the outside and the inside. Okay, push it together on the inside here. Just try and smoothen it out a bit, not too much, because they're going to act as capillaries. Okay, so that's that one done. Then with the knife, you want to try and find a nice little ridge along each crease. Do the same again. Be careful you don't cut yourself on the inside edge. It's usually best to do it that way around. Okay, once you've done that, get your cup, and just like with this, we assemble it together. The top part goes inside the bottom part. Okay, have to carefully fiddle it in, push it together, and you've got it. It looks rough, but it should work. And that's how you make them. Okay, so complete. So what you have is your little jets going around there. These little veins in there work as capillary grooves. So as it heats up, the liquid comes up, the fuel turns into a vapor and burns outside. Simple, easily made with either a knife or a pair of scissors. Obviously you get a scissors, it's going to be a lot easier job. Okay, so I had this, and the other thing I did was I thought, well, what to do for a cook pot, and you can find different things. Yes, if you've got one of these, ideal, because this thing doesn't need a pot stand, unlike some of these ones that are a lot made on YouTube. They need a pot stand. This doesn't. But what if you haven't got a pot? Well, you can find a tin can or a coffee can. This is like the most common can. It's a 115 gram baked bean can. So you remove the label like that. Now the next thing you have to do is probably make 2 holes in it. I recommend that you don't, if you're going to make holes, don't do it that way, because you'll bend the can. Go on the inside of the can on the ground, do it that way. Yeah, if I just clear this to demonstrate. So just like there on the inside rather than on the top. Be careful with these pen knives. Don't put your hand around like that, because the knife blade folds. It could hurt yourself, and yeah, like I said in the construction video of this, don't want to get an infection. Okay, so then once you've done that, you need to put this into a fire, heat it up and melt it, because inside is a plastic liner which needs to be melted off. So that's why I recommend like a piece of wire, bicycle spoke or whatever, so you could use it in a fire if you need be. But if you haven't got it, you could use a couple of sticks to pick it up with. That's how I did the experiments. And so like that. So I filled that up with water, and I filled that up with a variety of different fuels. The most common one is obviously methylated spirit, but you know, it's used for stoves and so forth. But if you haven't got methylated spirit, you need to use an alternative. So I tried a series of alternatives. Actually, the first one I tried was mineral spirits, or white spirits as we call it in this country, in the UK. Mineral spirits or terps or something. That worked, smoked a bit and became very sooty, but it got water to a rolling boil. The other things I tried was lighter fluid, but be careful with that, because if you've got a Zippo, you might want to use that for your Zippo. Let's put that there. That's important. Okay. Now, the other fuels I tried were what else was available? Barbecue fluid. Didn't work because it's like an oil. The other things that I used are petrol, and that worked very well. I used petrol with a 2-stroke mix of 1 to 30, because the thinking being is you can find this in any car, motorbike, and mixed with 2 strokes. Some motorbikes and even garden equipment like trimmers and chainsaws probably going to use petrol with a 2-stroke mix. That worked okay, but like a lot of 2-strokes, they tend to get clogged up and you need to strip them and clean them. These little jets that around here got clogged up, and I had to take the can off to let it burn the carbon off and put the can back. So I had to take the can off, put the can back on to burn the carbon off. But it worked, it got the job done, got it to a rolling boil. The other stuff I tried was diesel. Now, why did I try diesel? Because all over the place, trucks, tanks, tractors, generators, and some cars are going to run on diesel. So diesel is widely accessible. Okay, that's wonder super fuel which is used. There are things like avgas and jet fuel. Jet fuel will be like diesel, and avgas will be like petrol, but you're probably more likely to find petrol and unleaded petrol and diesel than avgas and jet fuel. Last time I came across avgas and somebody put it in their car was when I was gliding, but that was a long while ago. Now, diesel didn't work in this, and the barbecue fluid didn't work in it. Barbecue fluid was more like a gel. So what I did was I came up with using this principle here with the wick, the Fasty Feast tin. Thought, how can I build it? So I've got a Coke can, and I've got a Red Bull can, and I've got myself a piece of toilet paper, tissue paper, anything that's cloth, and made this. And this I'll show you how to make now. Okay, so for this one, so you're going to need a can and the Red Bull tin. And the other vital ingredient, this baby. Right, okay. So no need to remove the top of this. All we need to do, quite simply, cut the bottom off by knife or by scissors, however you want to do it. It's actually the simplest one to make of the two. Okay, so you've got your bottom. This you can chuck away or use it as a snuffer if you want to. I've had very little success with that. This one, that's the same as the other two. You take that off. I don't need that. Now, you could leave this in or you can take it off. We're gonna, well, take it off, I think. I was thinking of leaving it on, so that's one less process you'd have to do. Taking off makes filling it up a lot easier. As with the when I tried this methylated spirits, I had trouble. One of the problems was igniting it, and actually I left the top on, and the bean can on top, blew off and fell everywhere. It's the last thing you'd want. So having it off is probably better. But just like the original, so this is the smaller can, the Red Bull tin, same as before. Make a little hole. Actually, there we go. You could even use a nail for this job if you wanted to. Small little vent hole. Now, this is the critical bit. What you want, that's the critical bit, what you want between this point here, so I'll line up the camera from this point here to this point here, has to be at least 1 inch, okay, or 2.5 centimeters. So you haven't got anything to measure with, so you're going to have to do it by eye. You can say, right, okay, just where that little line is, that's where we shall do it. In fact, I'm going to use the scissors for this one to make it quicker. To do it with the knife, it's easier to do it with the scissors, but it can be done with a knife if needs to be. Now you can get rid of the bottom because you don't need that. You need the top. It's going to fit in there like so. And the next one thing I must add, you've got to put like a little thing like that. That allows the juice to go through. So you can do it with the scissors, or you can cut it in with a knife, just like so. 2 will do. Next thing you need to do is a wick. So make sure this is all dry. Get a piece of towel, tissue, any cloth that's natural material. So don't use anything like polyester because it will just melt. You want it to be a wick, like the wick on a candle. Okay. What you do is you wrap this around the bottom part of the can, like so, and then you stuff that into the bottom half of the bigger can. You can use any can you like, as long as you've got 2 sizes, that's okay. So the big can, the little can, and the way this works, you put your fuel in there, it soaks up through the wick, and you light the wick, and that provides a flame, and your can can sit on top. And that's taken me a short time to make it. Okay, first time you light it, it will burn, but it will just burn the wick down. So that, compared to this, there's our 2 methods. This one, fuel in the middle, heats up, works like a capillary, turns into a vapor, and then lights. So you light it from the center. This one, put fuel in the center, let it soak through the wick, and you light the wick. So, perfect burner, and that's what meat at feast. And they're the two. Okay, so with this, I then, because the diesel didn't work, I tried the diesel in this, and it worked brilliantly. That can also, it's got its kind of own little pot stand. So you don't need a pot stand that sits on it. And diesel worked, and it was brilliant. Instead of having to, with a lighter, sort of go like so, you can just go like so and light the edge, not a problem. Because with this, I actually had to use okay, so the diesel worked well. This did work, but it was slow and didn't get to a rolling boil. And when I took it apart, the wick was actually like a jelly. So the barbecue lighter fluid is kind of like a jelly sort of flammable liquid. Didn't work. And it also worked with the other fuels. I ran out of the lighter fluid. So the problem is you don't want to use lighter fluid unless you're in a real serious emergency. But even then you might want to reserve it, because you might want to refill your Zippo to continue lighting it in the future when you find more fuel. The other stuff I tried was the methylated spirit, and yeah, had a few problems with that, but not a problem. So this tin worked very well with all the fuels apart from that fluid, and this tin only worked with white spirits, petrol, lighter fluid, and the methylated spirits. It didn't work with the diesel. In fact, I had to use a blowtorch to try and get the diesel going. Now I'm going to talk about the ignition. So I used a blowtorch, gas-filled blowtorch. You can use these things. You can use lighters like these, Zippos, matches. You could even use a candle, and even fire starters, things like this. And if they're refillable, and you've got a can of gas, and you can find a can of gas, take the gas with you. If you're going to refill one of these, big mistake I've done for years is to do it, put it in there and do it that way. That's the wrong way. What you do is you turn it upside down and do it that way. And I'll put a link to a video on how to refill your gas things. Okay, now how do you put this thing out? Well, you can just let the thing burn out, or you can put like a bigger can over the top like so, to try and put it out. Make sure the can actually fits. And yeah, I've sometimes had problems with the can that goes over the top is too short and not being able to put it out. But or you can just, when you fill it up, you only fill it up like halfway, and just when you're done, let it burn out. I hope this is helpful to you guys. So there's two things that you can build: limited tools, limited resources. This works with all the fuels. This works on some of the fuels, but only requires one of these. Doesn't require one of these as well, and some toilet paper or material cloth. Don't use any cloth. Yeah, all I can say is, some of these guys that build these things, I think they're quite cool. And all I'm going to say is, well, think about, your fellow man that might be in a situation where you've got nothing, no tools, no workshop, and all you can find is simple things like this because they're commercially available worldwide, or things like this. Put yourself in a real situation where, how can I get stuff done on unlimited resources? I hope this is useful information. Anybody in a disaster zone, I wish you good luck. And thanks, guys.